It's 800-pound stack of clothing that I've carefully folded and categorized according to color value, according to light value. So it's starts with the most absolute black at the bottom and goes all the way up to the top where it's the brightest bleached whites possible. And then there's every color imaginable in between. I created the gradations by using a grayscale finder so that I squinted at each article of clothing and categorized them into 10 categories, or into 10 piles. And then I took, from those piles, I then visually sorted them again and just crisscrossed them back and forth across modular frames, which then stack up one on top of the other. I think the way that we layer our clothing mirrors the layers of boundaries between ourselves and other people, so that a relationship you have with a loved one, they in a sense are maybe part of that first layer, whereas someone who's a coworker is part of another layer further out. Total stranger, but maybe as someone who's a New Yorker, is another layer, or someone in another country that you've never met is even further out. And so in this piece I've collected clothing that has all been worn before. You can see, where the elbows have been worn through and where sewing repairs have been made and things have been customized, so that it all really bears the evidence of having been worn and owned. And by stacking it in this way, and the weight, it's 800 pounds, the weight of it compressing together, I feel like it's a kind of compressing of those boundaries. And the way that it's from black to white, and it contains pretty much every color and every hue and value you can find. Dreams. This piece is kind of a byproduct, really, of making these clothing stacks. I've, over the past 7 years, have come across a lot of clothing tags as I'm folding the different garments. And sometimes I've noticed that the tags almost feel sort of like little concrete poems, or little, like, single-word poems. And so I started to think, maybe I could string these words together and form a sentence. And so then I started consciously putting aside articles of clothing that were in English, where the brand was also a word in English, an actual word from the dictionary, and collected this enormous amount of clothing and created a database of all these names. And then I extended the list by going to websites like Kohl's or Sears and collecting all the names of the brands that they sell, and combined this into like a 5-page Excel spreadsheet, and then from there tried to see if I could essentially write a poem which is about the space between people. And it's kind of an exercise in failure, because you can't really write poetry with such a limited vocabulary. So it's kind of it was, I think, an impossible task, but I think the results are interesting anyway, in that they do sort of make sense. Acrobats. Bridge. The gap. As a source of income, I work in advertising part of the year, and I've had a lot of experience in marketing, and so I've designed logos such as these, and I've done a lot of the work behind the branding that goes into these different products. Essence. And so it seems it's a very comfortable place for me at the same time, and also in a previous life I was a poet. You. break away, speechless, to exist.